Hello ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for tuning in to Crashy News, where we bring you the latest in Crash Bandicoot news and updates. We at the Crashy News virtual offices are well aware of any Crash-related info that could pop up on a regular basis. Sometimes we will sit on that info for a while until a major development hits and becomes substantial enough for a video. And this is the case here, although it comes with a bitter note. For a video game franchise that has been going on for 2.5 decades, you would think that those who've held the IP over the years would attempt to bring Crash into other mediums at a considerable scale, like a comic book series or even an animated TV show. Well, such a thing almost happened. Keyword being almost. Today we will cover the history of this intriguing project once in the making, from the very first whispers to how it came crumbling down thanks to executive meddling, and take a closer look at what we are left with. This is a story, as it is so far, behind the cancelled Crash cartoon. While Crash fans were busy playing through Nitro Field's Winter Festival Grand Prix in December 2019, early signs that a cartoon adaptation of Crash was brewing first appeared. It began with a simple Facebook photo shared by a certain Bill Kopp, here hanging out with his friend Jeff DeGrandis, both sitting in a room next to a particularly placed promotional poster for the Crash Insane Trilogy. They happen to be within the headquarters of Activision in Santa Monica, California, and they are both veterans of the animation industry. Bill Kopp in particular has quite the extensive resume. He's most famous for creations such as Eat the Cat, Toonsylvania, and Mad Jack the Pirate. He's also made contributions to Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, the Roger Rabbit shorts, and even The Simpsons back when they were just shorts for the Tracy Ullman Show. While that does tickle anyone's curiosity, it is also quite possible it was all just a coincidence. That is until Bill shared some social media posts that began more and more blatant, such as including the Crash Bandicoot hashtag in an Instagram post saying, "Writing comedy today." In December 2020, Kopp also hinted during an interview on the Talking Simpsons podcast that he was working on a pretty big show.
I am right now getting involved in a new show, but I can't talk about it yet.
All right.
There's a little bit of familiarity to one of the characters, so
okay.
There will be something said probably in a few weeks.
Additionally, in the previous month, Charles Zimbalist, famed original character designer of Crash, made a post on his blog stating he heard from an excellent source in the industry that a new Crash project has been greenlit following a deal struck between Activision and another heavyweight. From the sound of it, it seemed we would finally get to see what this Crash project was all about soon, most likely being an animated series. And we did, but not in a good way. On January 12, 2021, on the Crash Bandicoot subreddit, a Reddit user, who was later revealed to be a writer among the staff, started a now-deleted thread stating that the rumored Crash cartoon was developed at Amazon for their Prime Video streaming service, but had gotten axed without warning 24 hours prior after a year of development, leaving hundreds, if not thousands, out of a job. But why? What was the reason behind this sudden cancellation? Two simple words: creative differences. According to the writer, the various scripts written would regularly get chopped up by representatives of Activision's game development division, who weren't even actively part of the creative process with Amazon. They would either disapprove of certain jokes or would try to push their own ideas against the will of the cartoon staff, and without any indication of how to approach them. Activision wanted adult gross-out humor, while Amazon wanted to keep it kid-friendly. It was a petty feud over a script for an episode where Cortex gets turned into a baby, and Nina and Coco would have wrangled that turned out to be the straw that broke the camel's back, with Amazon letting go of the project as Activision refused to budge and were simply impossible to work with. Now, the original Reddit post was initially just a big wall of text and was overall met with skepticism, but the writer decided to prove it by delivering a concrete piece of evidence of the show's existence, some test animation, and the series Bible. Going into this development Bible, it seems that the series title would have been the Crash Bandicoot Insane Cartoon Show. The show wouldn't adapt storylines from any of the games, but rather throw the recurring cast of characters into standalone 7-minute stories, built into a half-hour format and coupled with short bumpers and interstitials in between the segments, like phony commercials, fake movie trailers, and improv-style interviews. The Wampa Island setting where the main characters live would have featured many different environments, from ice and snow to swamps, passing by spooky and fantasy. The characters featured are largely similar to how they're portrayed in the games, like Crash as the clueless but fun-loving wacko, Dr. Cortex as the easily anchored but insecure little man, and even Nina as the gothic, spiteful teen with street smarts. But many of them do have an extra personality trait that distinguishes them from their game counterparts, like Coco having an ecological mindset, Aku Aku being forgetful despite being the voice of wisdom, Tiny as a butler-like lackey to Cortex, and Papu Papu actually having some access to magical powers. And when looking at the sample premises in the production Bible, the episodes would have been incredibly varied and bursting bursting with silliness and self-detachment. Short Ideas varies from a mutated chicken that wreaks havoc, pleading to eat them, to Cortex building robot broncos to win a rodeo, to Crash turning into a superhero thanks to Papu's sacred totem, to jetpack-powered penguins and beach-invading land sharks, to Cortex setting up both a circus and a Roman Colosseum with gladiators. Though we know what stories would have been told and how the characters would have been portrayed, but how would they have looked? How the animation was going to be like? Is it 3D or 2D? Well, that's where we move on to the other piece of evidence from the writer. Not one, but two revisions of an animation test using the same audio track, one of them being more finalized with different posing and expressions, cleaner backgrounds, and shading on characters. And for your viewing pleasure, we'll let you watch that test in full.
Dr. Neo Periwinkle Cortex here. With this ingenious device, this ordinary Bandicoot will be mutated into the perfect leader for my Cortex Commander! It's alive! Stop! Obey your creator! What have I done?
How was it, huh? Now, here's the other revision playing side by side for comparison. In terms of voice acting, you surely have noticed it's not Lex Lang as Cortex, nor does it try to be similar. The role was assumed by showrunner Bill Kopp himself, like he did in many of his own works. The writer even mentioned that Eric Bauza, mostly known as the current voice of Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, was offered the voice role of Crash, and that the staff was about to offer Nina and Coco to several actresses. As we're reaching the end of this saddening story, you may be asking, can it be saved? Is it possible for the different parties to reconcile and pick production back up? Or have another company continue the work? Who knows? It's not improbable that major public interest towards leaks of recently canceled media like this can make companies reconsider in this day of age. It happened with Spider-Man after all, but it isn't that simple or easy either. As far as we see, the possibility of another distributor picking up what is left off from the year-long development on the show is very unlikely. Netflix is definitely out of the question. Not only has Activision recently considered suing them for poaching their CFO out of his contract, but the writer mentioned that Netflix already had a very sore experience working with them, thanks to stories from those who worked on Skylanders Academy. And word clearly got around as many streaming services and TV channels such as HBO Max, Cartoon Network, Disney Plus, and Nickelodeon all passed on distributing it. This may explain why Activision Blizzard Studios, the division who produced films and TV shows, still struggle to put up anything concrete after Skylanders Academy concluded its run in 2018. And even if another party intervenes, reuniting the same staff is nowhere a simple matter as they're split away from the firings and would have moved on to other projects. Who knows if Activision will learn some lessons from this? Well, they'll need to if they hope to translate their properties into other media in the future. Indeed, that may be the biggest roadblock of all to getting a Crash Bandicoot cartoon off the ground. That's all we have for today. We hope you liked the story. If you did, be sure to leave a like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel to keep up with future updates. For more regular coverage, visit the Crashy News website and follow us on social media. You could also support us directly by leaving a donation on our Ko-fi page. Links in the description below. This is Crashy News, signing out. Have a good day.